Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm very concerned about the influence of lobbyists in Washington, D.C. There's no prohibition against the Department of Justice hiring lobbyists to be prosecutors, is there?
You mean former lobbyists, I hope.
Yes, that's correct.
Oh, there's no prohibition.
And can you describe for us the specific vetting that the department does when professional influence peddlers are hired and given prosecuting authorities?
Well, the hiring of assistant U.S. attorneys this is a career hire made in the different U.S. attorneys' offices.
For the Washington. In Washington at DOJ, are there any special procedures that vet lobbying contracts or maybe who a lobbyist worked for before they're given prosecutorial authority?
So again, I'm not sure what kind of person you're speaking with. If you're talking about line prosecutors, there is a background check. Everybody, I'm sure here is familiar with the SF-86, has to be filled out. It includes all the people that you work for. The same is true in Maine Justice.
But there's no special review for lobbyists as opposed to people who've been engineers or had any other career?
I don't know, but I don't believe there's a difference, but obviously lobbying may
Let's
raise
ask about
conflicts.
Political consultants. Political consultants are people who get paid to ensure that a candidate wins or loses an election, that a political movement is successful or unsuccessful. Is there any prohibition against hiring political consultants as prosecutors at the department?
Again, I don't think that we're allowed to even look at people's politics. The question.
No. It's not their politics. It's the profession of being a political consultant. There's no special vetting for them.
I don't think that there's a specific prohibition. There is a requirement that once somebody becomes a prosecutor, just like when somebody becomes a judge, that they get rid of whatever preconceptions they had before and that they go forward under their new responsibilities and are subject to the ethics rules of their new responsibilities.
We would hope that would be the case, Mr. Attorney General, but I tend to think that if people are in the influence peddling game or they're prosecutors, it can be kind of dangerous to mix those, to be an influence peddler for hire one day, to be a prosecutor the next, maybe to rotate back and forth among those careers. And it sounds like there's no special vetting for lobbyists or political consultants. Let me ask the question about partisan committee staff. We have partisan committee staff that you see here. Their job is to ensure that one party or another preserves or captures the majority, that legislative proposals are successful or not successful. No prohibition against the department hiring partisan committee staff as prosecutors, is there?
As I understand it, every administration, including the one preceding this one, has hired people who have been committee staff.
Yeah.
I don't think there's a statutory limitation. If the House of Representatives and the Senate think that partisan, or I'm not sure what.
That's how Preparara got his job. He worked for Schumer, and then he ended up in the Southern District. So we have people who can be lobbyists and then prosecutors. We have people who can be political consultants and then prosecutors. We have people who can be partisan committee staff and then prosecutors. The public integrity section has jurisdiction over election integrity, correct?
It has jurisdiction over election crimes, yes.
Yes. So is there any prohibition against people who've been lobbyists, partisan committee staff, or political consultants actually going in and serving in the public integrity section? Or is that allowed?
Just say again, the hiring in the public integrity section is a career hire made under the civil service. It's not made.
I know. I'm worried about their prior career, though. See, what I think is that if someone has been a political operative, to then put them in charge of election crimes, it's kind of like having the fox guard the hen house, don't you think?
So if you think that would be a perfect example of something the House should pass a statute barring people from particular professions from working in the Justice Department.
And would you support that legislation?
I'd have to look at what it is, and I have to look at whether it itself violates the First Amendment. But I don't think there have ever been any restrictions like that before.
I appreciate your open-mindedness, and I hope that persists during your time at the department. Would you provide the committee a list of lobbyists, former lobbyists, or just former political consultants who work in the public integrity section so that we might inform on the legislation that you've suggested we might consider?
I don't intend to create a list of career officials and what their previous jobs were.
So if there are people who literally were political operatives who have prosecuting authority, in the area that oversees elections, you won't give us the list.
I don't have any
That
idea
is
whether
chilling.
there is any such person.
Time of the gentleman has expired.